All right. Hello. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much, everybody, coming out here today. My name is Marla Solomon. I want to welcome you to the Beloved Community, Roadmap to the Beloved Community, our program on Jewish American and African American interwoven cultures. On interwoven cultures, I'm pretty tall. Let me just. Right. So we're very excited to have you out here today. Funny thing about today is we've had a group of us working together for quite a long time, about 5 months, to put this together. And in that time, we've had about 3 events, and every event, it rains. So we're doing something right here, I guess. So, yeah, so my name is Marla Solomon, and before I get started, I really wanted to introduce some of the teammates, all the teammates that are here. One person is not here, but the teammates that made this wonderful event possible. So first, well, they'll get enough of me. So we'll start with, we have Lakita Jackson. Oh, Lakita, get up here. She's part of the community input board, and we'll all introduce ourselves. So why don't y'all come up? Why don't y'all come up when I say so that you can introduce yourself with the mic after I get everybody up here. And then Joseph Okafor, who's also on the community input board of Hyde Park with our youth engagement committee. And we have Naomi, and the Boston Workers Circle. We have Nicholas is outside manning the fort, but Nicholas. And we have lovely Lynn, my sign-up. So I'll let everybody introduce ourselves. And one of the questions that we're going to ask you to think while we're going through this is, why is this work towards the beloved community important to you? And so why are we here? So I'll let them start off.
So I definitely want us to clap, put our hands together for Marla Solomon. He's an amazing organizer of African American culture, and working in conjunction with the Boston Workers Circle. I don't know why I always want to juxtapose those words. But anyway, my name is Lakita Jackson, as he mentioned, and I'm part of the Community Input Board of Hyde Park, and also a co-chair of one of the neighborhood associations within Hyde Park district of Boston. And so just glad to be with you, and looking forward to learning, having some rich exchanges, and hopefully building some long-lasting relationships so that we can work towards the healing, right, of the people groups and coming together and doing more and seeing more of Boston. That's better than what is.
Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon.
Oh, wow.
Almost. Hey. My name is Joe Okafor. As Lakita, I'm a member of the Community Input Board of Hyde Park. I specifically lead the Youth Engagement Committee. I've lived in Hyde Park for over 20 years, and I'm on the leadership team of one of the neighborhood groups in Hyde Park. So building community, building unity, and solidarity, as Lakita alluded to, is of the utmost importance to not only me, but our whole group. And I'm so thankful for the partnership of Naomi and the Boston Workers Circle and all the folks that make this possible. Most especially Marla Solomon, who's been a fantastic and phenomenal organizer. So looking forward to today, looking forward to continuing to learn the history so we can respectively bring it back to our communities and engage in that spirit of community. So thank you so much.
I stepped over and got that light in my eye. I'm Naomi, and with Lynn Layton and Michael Punching, with the Acting for Racial and Economic Justice Committee of Boston Workers Circle. Boston Workers Circle is a secular, progressive Jewish organization and it's been around. Actually, the Boston one, I'm not sure how long it's been around. The original New York one was founded around 1900. And we're very interested in working in solidarity with different communities, and African American community is obviously a very important one. And this is part of the recognition that in order to move forward together, we need to know the history, and we need to know the difficult, painful, often divisive aspects of that history. We need to confront them, and we need to deal with them. And there's often, you hear, especially in, I think, what I'm most familiar with, but in Jewish communities, a sort of lamenting about the Black and Jewish alliance from the civil rights days. And it's true, that was important, and it did happen, and there was lots wonderful about it. But I think it tends to be more favorably remembered among Jews than among many African Americans. And it was not easy even then. There were problems and issues around whiteness and white saviorism and so on. And then there were also much more painful histories like the ones that happened in this community that we're going to be directly addressing today. And I want to acknowledge that this is a particularly difficult and painful time, especially, but not only, of course, in Jewish communities, but also in those who feel, as many of us Jews also feel, a strong sense of solidarity and alliance with Palestinians. And within Jewish communities, there's enormous difference of opinion in how to think and feel about that situation. And one of the things that's become clear to many of us it was clear all along, others needed a bit of reminding, that anti-Semitism is alive and well and extremely dangerous and unlikely to be going away. And the question is, what follows from that? And I think along with my comrades in Boston Workers Circle, what follows from that is we need all the allies we can get. We need to be in solidarity with other people who are differently marginalized, oppressed, and being harmed. And that trying to make the world safe for Jews while it remains dangerous for other people is not only immoral, out of step with traditional Jewish values, but pragmatically stupid. That standing in solidarity, building alliances, fighting for a world in which all people are safe, fighting for justice, fighting against oppression wherever it happens, whoever is targeted. That is how we need to respond to anti-Semitism, and not by walling ourselves off, especially not with weapons. This is not to come to a conclusion about what it's justified or not justified for Israel to do right now. That's above my pay grade. But I think that the killing of civilians as it's happening in Gaza is deeply terrible, and something needs to be done to make that stop. In any event, don't want to get into the whole politics of what's going on there, but to say that the connection between that and what we're doing here is the need to grapple with difficult, painful, complex pasts in order to move into a future of solidarity, commitment to justice, and the beloved community.
Thank you. Awesome.
Hi everyone, I'm Nahi, you see his pronouns. I'm part of the Boston Workers Circle crew that's been involved in organizing this. And yeah, just to give a little bit, I think I missed what was said already about the Workers Circle, so I might repeat some things, but yeah, the Boston Workers Circle has been around for over 100 years, And originally, one of the locations of the Worker Circle was here in Dorchester, up until about 60 years ago, when we moved to Brookline. And so, kind of that history in and of itself of our organization made us start to think about, well, where were we when this history that we're going to be touching on today happened? And that, in part, kind of led us to doing this Learning for Action series, where we read The Death of an American Jewish Community, A Tragedy of Good Intentions, which does an amazing job of talking about, largely from the Jewish side, kind of this history of blockbusting, redlining, and yellowlining that happened. And yeah, I think that's all I have for now.
Well done, well done. So we had a great team here. Some of the people are not here, so I want to recognize Marcia Kim, who is also on the Community Input Board of Hyde Park and also part of the Forum for Racial Equity and Justice. So she wasn't able to make it. She sends her apologies and blessings and kisses and hugs because that's the kind of person she is. I also want to, Lou Finfer is on the way. So he'll be here to give us our tour, so I'll be entertaining us. But before we actually get started, we want to talk about this space, right? This space is a space that is I guess what I like, she said the complex stories and things to talk about. And to be honest, everything we're talking about has to do with space. If we're honest, what we're talking about in Israel and Palestine. And if you look at this space was once shared by the Jewish community, and as we will see later, all the Jewish communities all the way around, the other synagogues in the area, right? And now these areas, like they're having, Haitian church is having their service at this very moment, right? And these spaces have been shared, but shared during different times, right? That sounds familiar. So what happens is that in 60 years, remember we say never again, right? And in 60 years, maybe some descendants of the Jewish community will say, no, this is my space, right? And then the Haitian community that's been here since then will say, no, we were here. So that's why this space is important. That's why it's so important that we're coming here to start a seed about the beloved community, right? But we want to really please give it up for Bishop Kelly, who has opened up this space for us. I know Bishop Kelly, he opened up this space, the Way of the Cross Holy Church. It is an interdenominational, multicultural church that welcomes everybody. So it is appropriate that we are all here today to mark this beginning of a new beloved community. So thank you, everybody, and let's get started with the program. All right. We're gonna go in reverse. We're supposed to do this, and then we're supposed to go outside. And thank you that it's now not raining, so it's nice and cool outside. But so we're going to go into my presentation. So for those who don't know me, like I said, I'm the founder and senior project engineer at the African American Culture Initiative. We're a nonprofit here in Boston. We're located in Hyde Park. And I am very passionate about the intersection between culture and the infrastructure in which it develops. All right? So many of us as civil engineers, we get kind of perturbed because when we do our job well, nobody knows that we did our job. And I also do work in cultural diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? So there are two parts: restorative project management, which is the ability to design projects and solutions that build community, repair harm, and promote inclusivity. So this is one of our projects, right? We're coming together as a community. We're trying to address some harms, and we're definitely being very inclusive. And the second thing I work on is cultural diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? So looking at the world not through a racial lens, but through a cultural lens, right? And this harkens back to what we were dealing with in the African American community, because if we're not as, some of us are not as, conversant with cultural diversity, so we look at everybody as white. And this whole, why are Jewish people having these issues? They're white. Is a real question. It's a real question in our community, right? How do we know what's going on? Like there's no 1930s history in BBS per se, right? So these are some of the questions and some of the things that we're going to deal about, and we're going to talk about, some of the situations that happen around infrastructure. So my background is in civil engineering, all right? So I love infrastructure and old maps, and I got a few up here for us to see. I primarily study urban renewal and redlining, and that system and how it changed the culture of this land. Are we not in a formerly Jewish place that was thriving, and now it's no longer that? There are some more politically charged words that I could use, right? But this place has been cleansed of Jewish culture, except for these buildings. And these buildings now will be the pathways to understanding, right? So, you guys probably recognize, we'll go see this a little bit, G&G jellies, right? So, we're going to start here at redlining. This is the Boston Red Line map. And what the Boston Red Line map, what all the Red Line maps effectively did was identify where all the ethnic groups were. That's what it did. And so here it's like, 10% Italian, this is Mattapan, so that is primarily Jewish. And it also gave data like how much money they made and what jobs they were in and all these data. This was done, and this was issued February 1st, 1938, all right? And then it provides the urban planners drastic infrastructural changes to embed segregation into the very design of our city that we love, Boston, right? And all the other cities in the United States, all right? Now, one of the main things that when I gave my discussion during Black History Month to the Boston Workers Circle that I was trying to progress was that, as like I said, civil engineers, when we do our work, you don't know what's happening. It's just happening to you because you don't have access to transportation. You don't have access to electricity, like as much as we're doing in here, without the infrastructure to save us from the rain, the lights, the internet, right? These all things are brought through infrastructure, right? So culture develops in healthy infrastructural spaces. And once certain changes are made, the changes will actually be reflected in the culture, which is what happened here. So you say, what infrastructural change really happened here? Okay, so we're close to Franklin Park, right? Franklin Park, the largest park in Boston, by far. Part of the Emerald Necklace, designed by architect Olmsted, right? I think it has a zoo, right? A historic zoo. It has a golf course. The same guy designed that, designed New York City, Central Park. Very important historic artifact. There is no T-line to it. No way for tourists to get here and spend their dollars. Right? And back then, the Franklin Park was free. Franklin Park Zoo was free. You could just go there. Crossville was a theater. We're going to watch a video later that's going to give a little more insight to how it was, all the cultural events. This was a Jewish-American cultural hub. All right? So that means money is being made here. But if it's disconnected from the center of the city, and what happens? So let's think of Brooklyn. You remove those tracks, what happens to Brooklyn? These are the pressures that were happening to the Jewish American community starting after World War II. So all the tracks were removed, and the two things it did was isolate certain areas of the city from the heart of the city, and we'll go into that a little later. But it also took away all the lateral movement. So you cannot go from there used to be a train, a streetcar, from Mattapan, down Cummings, all the way to Roslindale. Now to get there on the T, I don't think you can get to Roslindale on the T. You have to go to Forest Hills. Right. So that basically now says you cannot go there without going into the city, getting a stop and coming back down. Right? The trolley line that goes around Milton, that was the station where the train used to go down Blue Hill Ave from Roxbury, down Warren, all the way down Blue Hill Ave on the right-hand side, all the way down. And guess what? It was electric. So now that we're trying to be climate change, maybe that's an idea we should be thinking about. Moreover, the city of Boston is already designed for it. All right. So, some little facts. I'm trying to stall for Lou gets here. So, so I'm going to take. I won't take too much, but I didn't plan to do all this. But anyway, zip code was introduced in 1961. So the red line map issued in 1938 informed the people, and they spent like a generation developing all the interstates, all the highways, and they primarily went through communities that they were, I guess the status quo did not like. I-90 went through Chinatown, cutting it in half. Let me not go here. There's more to talk about. I'll talk about that in a moment. So, right, and to this map, when the first time I saw this map, I actually had to sit down. This is the map inequality map, so it's from the University of Richmond, and this shows you every single red line map that was done in the United States of America. So it's not one place, it is everywhere, all at the same time, drastically changing the landscape of the communities, the cities, as well as changing the culture of the people who live there. The African American community went through a lot. They're still going through a lot. There's a 27-year life expectancy difference in Roxbury today. But this just give you that a little bit. So now, just to give you a little rundown, I wasn't going to do this long, I was going to go through the pictures, but the first thing that was happening with the urban renewal in this city was the West End. That was like a Hiroshima. That scared the bejesus out of every human being, because when you go down to a place that has been there for literally 100 years, and then it's just gone. So it first started with, this is the artery. It's not very clear, but this is what, so this is the North End, and this is the West End. They were together, all right? And then here, in 1952, they start developing this is where the Greenway, all right? So you can see all the destruction that happened there. So that is there, all right? So then after that, this is in 1955. So we've done part one. Now let's go to part two. So let's take out, this is Government Center. You know that's what that is? That's the last tenement. You all know where that is, right? Next to the Celtics, where there's like one little building that's like, what are you doing here, little building?
Is it at West End Museum?
Right next to the West End Museum. And there's a little tenement. There's a little guy right there. And apparently he was really stubborn and said, no, I'm not selling. Yeah, so you can see the utter devastation. They literally scraped the streets off the ground. There's nothing there. So when my Jewish brothers and sisters reflect on that time, you have to put yourself in context. You're thinking this might happen to you. Hey Lou. Hi. Welcome. No problem, no problem. So I'll go through a little bit and we'll stop and let Lou do his introduction. This is Roxbury, the South End, all right? And this is Dudley. So this area had a lot of Jewish businesses, and in the red line map, it is historically identified that African Americans and Jewish Americans were living together. And this were working together, living together for having jobs. And I've actually spoken to an African American lady who told me about her first job, and her first job was with a Jewish butcher. And the Jewish butcher would give her meat every weekend. And to let you know something, and if you think food insecurity is something now, imagine during segregation. So that meat actually destabilized our family because our father felt, because we couldn't get a job, was now not literally bringing home the bacon. Well, I know maybe that's wrong. That's the wrong meat. Sorry, guys. So
Bringing home the brisket.
Bringing home the brisket. Thank you, Naomi. Nice save. So this is, and you know, so back in the 60s and 50s and 60s, my African American heritage was deeply rooted in the church. Deeply rooted in the church and music. It's our heart and soul. And This is the Dudley Street Baptist Church. Right now, there's a library there. If you recognize the police station, right? Removal of churches. See, the thing about design of a community, if I put more schools in the community, I get more educated people. If I put more healthy grocery stores, I get better health outcomes. If I put more gyms, I get more six-packs, right? In that community. But ultimately, I take that away, right? I get less of those things, right? Right. So the removal of the churches, change the culture, because there's physical spaces where my ancestors used to congregate was literally taken away for no reason at all. So this Dudley Street Baptist Church was the heart and soul of the African American community. You can see the rail. Oops, oh Lord. You can see the rail. See the rail going to Forest Hills there, right? This is Orchard Park. This is where New Edition, if you know the African American group, was raised. But yeah, there are a lot of Jewish businesses there, and like I said, it's historically in the data of the red line map that they live together. And down from here, when you remove the red line, the orange line from the Roxbury to Roxbury Crossing, that effectively was the beginning of the end for Jewish and African American communities, because I'll go into a little bit later, but anyway, this is some beautiful pictures that I got online. This is the first streetcar. This is not anywhere. This is in Beacon Street in downtown, but I have a Back Bay, but this is with a horse. So this is where we started in Boston. I just thought that was interesting. And then we went to these streetcars, and this is all along Blue Hill Ave. And this right here, if you recognize it, this is the Franklin Park Zoo, park wall. So these are the tracks that fed people in from the heart of the city to come to the zoo, to go to the theater, and that's where the main source of income was coming from, well, at least where a lot of the spurring of that was coming from. All right? These are my old maps. I'm not going to bore you with too much, but just to give you a little sense of how Boston is developed, this is the actual, real footprints. Everything around here is fake news. Right? And this is down Washington Street. This is the Boston Neck, right? And then it goes to Dudley, and it divides into two. One going to Forest Hills, and then the other going to Mattapan. That is the original and natural structure of the city of Boston. Anything that deviates from that will cause problems. All right? So these are just maps. I'm not going to go into, but basically, if you look very closely, I know it's pretty, but that actually this is the 32. And that's like the train cars are listed after the bus terminals. So I'm not going to go into that too much. I want to get to Lou. This part of, we're not going to go into this part of the beloved community actually, because the covenants that Lou will talk about, right? They did not allow people to live in Eastern Dorchester. The covenants and the rental agreements, they did not allow African Americans to live in Milton, Quincy, Hyde Park.
Oh no, wow.
I've been in Boston too long. And so the first time that diversity touches Hyde Park, this is what happens. And Lou and I will be working in February and all next year, because the 50th year of the desegregation of the busing is next year. All right? So we'll have more beloved communities to do, so stay tuned. Right, but these are some of those pictures that, from the area during that time. All right, and now we're talking about here in Dorchester, Mattapan, and the historic Jewish community. I have a drone, as you can see. I've been going around being very busy, but basically, these temples show the history, the rich history, the proud history. This is my favorite one, because the Twin Towers mean something in building. It means very big. Because not only can I do it once, I can do it twice, right? It's a symbol of strength, a symbol of that we are here and we are here to stay. This building alone proved to me that my Jewish brothers and sisters did not leave here willingly. And the infrastructure tells all the tale that I need to see. All right. So we're not going to do this now. I want to go on the tour, but this is a little movie that we're going to watch to talk about that bit, and then we'll have a discussion. But right now, I want to bring up Lou Lisa, for ladies and gentlemen.